What's going on, guys? JPB Duel here. Hope you guys are enjoying your Thursday. And for today's matchup, we have a Prank Kids versus a Sword Soul with me as the prankster going first. Now, if you guys look at my starting hand, it is pretty busted. Busted in the sense that I did start with Skill Drain along with 2 Call by the Graves. So in case the opponent maxes us or Ash Blossoms us, we could still play through those 2 hand traps. And as I'm saying that, once I do go into my combo starting with my Lamseys, my opponent does maxi me on my activation of the Lamseys in the graveyard, which is, by the way, the correct way to maxi your opponent in case they are playing Prank Kids. Again, Meowmoo being at 1 means that if you see a person normal out a Prank Kids monster, do not just instantly maxi them. Yes, it will stop their turn from going through, but that means if you cannot OTK them that turn itself, or you cannot set up a board that completely negates them afterwards, if you give them some sort of leeway and they have Meowmoo in the extra deck, they can still normal out a card and go into your combo after baiting out all your cards. So you want to max your opponent if they are playing Prank Kids after they go into Meowmoo and activate their first graveyard activation, because they have already committed their one and only Meowmoo to the play. So this is the correct way to maxi your opponent if they are playing Prank Kids. Unfortunately for the opponent, and fortunately for us, we had a Call by the Grave in our hand, so we Call by the Grave the maxi, as I told you guys before, keep going into our combo. So once I'm doing my combo, obviously you want to chain block your graveyard activation with your Doodle-Doo Search, and with this, my opponent imperms my Doodle-Doo Search. That means since we did not start with either a Pranks or Pandemonium in our hand, we are forced now to go into our Butler on our turn itself through our Predaplan, Birthday, Anaconda play. And if you guys notice, if this does happen to you, what you want to do is you want to pitch your Pranks into the graveyard with your Fansies pitch. So that is exactly what I do. I pitch my Pranks, then we go into our second copy of Doodle-Doo, activate the Dropsies, but do however keep in mind with this play, you will be forced into your second Doodle-Doo, so you will have to go through your Roxies. So you will be forced to banish 1 card from your hand if you want to get the Pranks back from the graveyard into your hand. Otherwise, you can just straight away go into your Predaplan, Birthday, Anaconda off of your first Doodle-Doo, which you will have enough materials to go into your Butler in your graveyard anyway with. If you start your combo with your red, green, or blue cards, namely your Fansies, Lamseys, or Dropsies. If you start your combo with Roxies, you will be forced again to cycle through 2 Doodle-Doos to be able to get the cards in the graveyard or on the field to go into Verte to then Thunder Dragon Fusion into your Butler. So keep all this in mind in case you ever are in a situation like this. So with this, I tribute my Doodle-Doo, target my Pranks in the graveyard, add them to my hand because I do want to recycle my cards. We went through 2 copies of our Doodle-Doo, so we need to recycle 1 of them at the end of our turn. We activate Pranks, we pitch the card we got with the Doodle-Doo's tribute into the graveyard, we go into our Bow Wow, Roxy's activates, we are then gonna banish out a card from our hand to draw into a card. Now over here, looking at my hand, you guys are seeing it, I have Harpy's Feather Duster, I have Call by the Grave, and I have Skill Drain. Obviously, we cannot pitch the Skill Drain. We cannot pitch the Harpy's Feather Duster either, because in case we are up against a back row set deck, we need the Harpy's Feather Duster. We did not hard draw a Twin Twister. If I had Twin Twister plus Harpies in my hand, I would have of course pitched out the Harpy's Feather Duster. I would have banished out the Harpy's Feather Duster to keep the Twin Twisters in my hand. But again, you have to think, if you're up against an Eldritch player and they do put an Eldritch in the graveyard to then bring it back on the field, Call by the Grave is one of the most important cards against Eldritch players, and Skill Drain is the worst card to go into an Eldritch matchup because Eldritch players do run Skill Drain and they benefit off of the Skill Drain more than you personally as a Prank Kids player do. So when I was playing this game on stream, I debated about this, my chat gave some inputs as well, and we decided to just banish out the Call by the Grave. Because let's be honest, if this guy was playing an Eldritch match, an Eldritch deck, he would not be running Imperm nor would he be running max C, because usually Eldish players do not run that many hand traps. They want their own traps, and floodgates are enough for them to play through most meta. So we decided, let's banish out the Call by the Grave from our hand, and what do you know? I ended up drawing into a Twin Twisters anyways. If I had known I was going to draw into Twin Twister, I would have banished out the Harpy's Feather Duster over my Call by the Grave, but we have no way of knowing that, so it is what it is. So at the end, we end up going into our Predator Plan play, we pitch the Thunder Dragon Fusion, and we go off into our Butler. Now keep in mind, I am putting Butler on the field before my opponent's turn comes up. So now you have another choice right here. With the Prank Kids Pranks recycle, do you want to recycle your Meowmoo out, or do you want to keep Meowmoo in the graveyard to get 2 Butler pops? In this specific situation, I said since I have Skill Drain on the field anyways, I am just going to recycle out my Meowmoo for my next turn. So I recycle out my Meowmoo and my Doodle-Doos, as you guys saw right here. I recycled Meowmoo plus Doodle-Doo. I kept the Bow Wow plus the 2 named Prank Kids monsters in the graveyard. Now there's a specific reason for this. The reason being, in case this guy has a Kaiju in his hand or a Lava Golem in his hand, they can take away my Butler or both my Butler and Verte, and that would activate the Butler's floating effect in the graveyard. Butler would then bring back our Bow Wow Bark on the field, and then we could tribute the Bow Wow to add these 2 cards back from the graveyard into our hand to prepare ourselves for our next turn. Because Skill Drain active on the field can work some stuff as well, in case these guys are not on Lava Golem and have Kaijus, right? So with all that in mind, I decided to recycle out my Meowmoo. With that, we end our turn. I even draw into a copy of Lamseys for my next turn. So Meowmoo is recycled, Lamseys allows us to go into our full combo next turn. Now, if you see an Ecclesia on the field, if your opponent specials on Ecclesia on the field, you cannot 100% say they are playing Sword Soul. Chances are likely they are playing Sword Soul, but sometimes even the branded Despia players do play Ecclesia, because Ecclesia can go into the Fallen of Albaz. So with this, we know he's playing Sword Soul. He puts the Moye on the field, and then Moye shows me he has Longyan in his hand. At this point, since we only have 1 Butler pop, I do not want to pop my Butler on the Moye plus the token. So what I decided to do was, I just flip over the Skill Drain. Skill Drain flip over means Moye's effect is essentially negated. And if he has no other cards in his hand, no other worm type cards in his hand, or any Swordful cards to pitch off of the Longyan, Longyan cannot come on the field with the token to go into Barone or Sinister Sovereign or Sovereign. Because if any of those cards comes on the field, we will just use our Butler, pop the opponent's field, and be done with it. Opponent will have nothing on the field afterwards, right? And Butler still stays at 3k defense. And since this card is in face-up defense, that means the opponent can Lightning Storm us. Now, again, Lightning Storm, if the opponent had it, he would have used it to wipe out my back row anyways, but that's another issue entirely. So with this, he goes into battle phase, he kills off the Predator Plan, Verte, and Anaconda. He's going to set down 1 card and pass his turn. Now I started to think, and you guys do have to think in Yu-Gi-Oh games if you want to climb up pretty easily. You have to start doing some thinking. Even though timers are short, you can still give like 5 to 10 seconds to think. Think, what if this card turns out to be a blackout? Because this card is a worm type card, so if this card turns out to be a blackout, he could activate blackout, pop 2 of my cards. So since he set down this card this turn itself, that means he cannot activate it unless it's a spell that he can activate this turn. So we just go into Twin Twisters. I activate Twin Twisters. We're going to pitch the Harpy's Feather Duster. Harpy's is pretty useless in my hand anyways to pop this card. Now keep in mind, this could be pretty bad, because what you want to do is you want to let your opponent end his turn, and you want to activate Twin Twisters at the end of the turn, so that way your opponent cannot continue their main phase and set down even more cards. So that's one of the mistakes I did right here. I activated my Twin Twister in main phase 2 over the end phase. So I activate Twin Twister, we pitch the Harpies, and lo and behold, the card that got popped turned out to be Sword Soul Blackout. He hard drew the 1-off. So really good for us, really bad for the opponent. With that draw phase, I draw into an Imperm. Now keep in mind guys, a big tip to you, if you run both Skill Drain and Imperm, be wary, you will not be able to activate Imperm if your Skill Drain is face up on the field and not negated. Because Skill Drain face up on the field negates every single monster that is face up on the field, and you cannot negate an already negated monster with Imperm. So Imperm becomes an extremely useless card once Skill Drain becomes active on the field. So that means we can now go into our combo and special out a copy of Roxy's. Roxy's would banish the Imperm from our hand because we already said it is a useless card and maybe we can draw into something more useful. Now over here, I'm going to chain block with my Doodle-Doo even though I know Skill Drain is active on the field. It's just a habit for me to chain block and I just do it out of habit anyways. So it's negated, that's okay. Roxy's banishes out the Imperm from our hand. We draw into a copy of Maxi. Pretty good for us because Maxi means that Sword Soul, if the opponent somehow gets rid of Skill Drain with the V-Shooter line, we can still Maxi our opponent. We could draw a bunch of cards or maybe have the opponent stop his turn completely and give up the game. Now Maxi, I only run 1-off in my deck list and drawing into this was pretty lucky in this game. So we pop the opponent's card, which is the Moye with our Doodle-Doo, and I go into main phase 2. Now you guys might be thinking, Jay, why not put your Butler face up attack and whack the opponent for 3k? Well, let me tell you the reason. This guy was playing more than 40 cards decklist. He was playing, I believe, 45 to 47 cards decklist, and once I saw that, I thought that maybe, just maybe, this guy might be running a Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm means that he can wipe out my Butler, which would be face up attack, and put more cards on the field on his side, or Lightning Storm can clear out the back row. But think about this logically. If he somehow uses the Lightning Storm, he draws into it, he uses the Lightning Storm, he clears out the back row, that means our Butler is now online. And I did have Meowmoo pitched in the graveyard. That means my Butler comes in the field with 2 separate pops if he pops my back row. And if he pops my front row with Lightning Storm, if I put my Butler face up attack, that means Skill Drain still stays active on the field, and if he cannot get rid of it, good for us. He cannot go into a combo unless he can bounce it with the V-Shooter. So I want to have both my bases secure in case he Lightning Storms one and the other, So that's the reason why I kept my Butler in face of defense. Now, again, it was a big misplay. I'm trying to just argue with that, but it's a misplay. Okay, it's a misplay. I should have put the Butler face up attack, whack the opponent for 3k attack, which I did not. At the end of the turn, we activate Pranks. We activate the Bow Wow Tribute, the Doodle-Doo Tribute, get the 2 cards, and with that, the opponent just surrenders. He knows he's done. Skill Drain open on the field means he loses the game anyways. That's going to be it for today's game, guys. If you guys do enjoy this kind of videos, please consider hitting the like button, subbing to my channel for more daily Pranked video uploads, and if you guys are interested in a live version of all of this, I do live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/jpbduel. Link along with my schedule and a link to my Discord will be in the video description itself for you guys to check out. This is JPBDuel signing off for today. I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace!